Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our first ever live event from Brixington Primary Academy. Hopefully we've got a number of different people watching us and tuning in live this evening. The purpose of this evening is an information event for new parents of reception starters in September. So you might be somebody who is thinking about what schools to choose in September. You might be somebody who already knows exactly which school your child will be going to in September. And hopefully there's some of you who have already chosen Brixington as well, and that you know you'll be with us in September. There'll be lots of you from different areas, and some of you might even be watching this later on as a recording. So welcome to you as well. My name is Stuart Dyer. I'm the Head of Teaching and Learning here at Brixington Primary Academy. And I'd just like to speak to you for a few minutes this evening about what it's like being a parent whose child will be starting soon at school, the kind of things you might be able to do between now and then, and also a little bit about Brixington as well. Now, it might be you have some questions as the next few minutes goes on. So if you do, you can ask a question by heading to tinyurl.com/ask Brixington. All you do is type that into your browser and it will take you to a form where you can type in any question you like, and we'll be able to see those and get back to you live. Or if you're watching this on a recording at a later date, you can still go to Ask Brixington and we will answer your question as long as you leave us your email address to get back to you. Okay, I'll be flashing that up a few times as we go on. So the first thing I'd like to talk to you about is what to expect in September. What's it going to be like having a child starting a primary school in September? Well, a lot of the usual expectations have been interrupted recently, but schools are increasingly confident that we will be able to make next September a transition for new pupils that involves opportunities to come into schools, to come into our school. Now, children don't usually just start at school one Monday and off they go in full time and home on Sunday, then suddenly at school on the Monday. Quite a lot of work goes in between now and then to make sure that children feel settled and ready to start their schooling. Lots of schools offer what would be called a staggered start, so starting in smaller increments, and all schools offer some kind of transition rather than starting straight from cold. At Brixington, we'll be inviting children and parents to some stay and play sessions, and those involve mum, dad, or one of the main carers coming into school with the child and spending time in our reception classroom, playing some games, looking at the kind of learning they'll be normally doing once they start school on their own. And we find those are really helpful. What it means is that the child already has an idea of the setting, of the people they'll be working with, and gets to meet some new friends as well. It helps them become really familiar with the space. Schools also try to get to know a little bit about their pupils before they start. Now, in the past, this has been done through home visits, and lots of schools offer home visits where they will literally come out to the homes and come out to you and see you, and maybe have a cup of tea in your living room and get to know a little bit about you and your little one. But over the past few months, lots of schools, including ours, have had success with virtual visits and telephone calls and doing things like this and getting to know each other that way. So schools will be considering all those options as well and finding a solution that's best for all of us. Now, when it actually comes time to start in September, parents, you have the choice as to how you want your child to start. As long as they're rising 5, then you're entitled to full-time straight away, just like all age children at primary school. However, lots of schools will offer a part-time approach to begin with. And that might, for example, include just mornings only for a couple of weeks, or it might include doing half the week. Lots of schools offer different things. At Brixington, we like to leave it up to you a little bit. Lots of parents decide to start straight away full time. And that might be because their child is already working with us as part of our nursery. Or it might be they're really confident because they're already started at some other nurseries. Or it might be because they've got a really busy job and they can't wait to get their child in school full time. But if you think that your child in starting Brixington would benefit from a more gradual approach, then all you've got to do is give us a call and talk to us about it. Once they've started, there's usually a short transition period where there's a few tiers, but that's only the parents. The children, we find, they absolutely love the structure and the routine They know what to expect every day, and they absolutely thrive knowing that they're going to be challenged, and that people are going to take an interest in them every day, and that there are lots and lots of other people just like them who are really enjoying their learning. Lots of parents worry, and it's an anxious time, about the settling in period to school. And I would tell you that children, almost all children, find the transition into primary school really, really straightforward. As I've said, they love the fact that there's nice, clear routines and boundaries every day, and they thrive in that new environment. Parents, on the other hand, can take a little bit of getting used to it, and it is a really big deal to see your youngest or your young child going off to school for the first time. And lots of parents say the biggest impact that they notice when their child starts school is actually getting some time themselves in their own homes. Okay, so that's a little bit about what to expect in September. Obviously, what the children will be doing at school is lots and lots of learning. So let's talk a little bit about what that looks like now in a reception classroom in a primary school. So you will remember what it was like at primary school for you. And you might, if you were to picture that now, if you were to imagine that now, you might think about desks, whiteboards, one teacher, front of the class, writing up on the board, people answering questions, lots of hands up. It's not really like that for reception. It's quite different for reception children when they first start school. All schools work towards what's called early learning goals. Now, these are about preparing children for the more formal schooling that you do remember. For most schools, this means learning through play, as well as some instruction and direct teaching. So I'm not going to talk to you any more about that. We've acquired an expert for the evening to talk a little bit more detail about reception learning and what it's like in a reception classroom. I'm going to hand over now to Mrs. Locke.
Good evening, my name is Jo Locke and I am the EYFS lead and class teacher here at Brixington Primary School. We are so proud of the provision we can offer children at Brixington Primary School. We are very passionate about the child-led approach that we use for learning. We plan our provision around the children's interests and find that the children are much more engaged and enthusiastic about learning when the learning is driven by them. We have an open plan environment here, so it's free flow play, geared to the children's interests. We want to give the children the thrill of finding a dinosaur egg in the sandpit or discovering that there are fairies in our outside area. The children are much more engaged and much more willing to read messages from a fairy or write stories for a paleontologist. So we try and gear all our things around what the children want to do. If a child has a love of superheroes, for example, but is less interested in the fine motor skills for building finger strength, we might wrap up a superhero, tie it up with pipe cleaners or some shoelaces, and the children are much more engaged with trying to free their favourite superhero, which is also obviously building finger strength. They might also decide to write to the superhero afterwards saying, "Oh, my name is Jack and I saved you." So we try and gear our learning all around children's interests. You may have noticed, as you've wandered past Brixington, that we're currently revamping our outdoor area here. We want to encourage a feeling of awe and wonder in all areas of the provision, and so we've set about changing some of our areas. We're developing the bottom area where Elma lives, our resident Elma. It's going to be a wild garden down there. There's lots of planting that's going to be going on. We've got a bug hotel there, and it's kind of like an exploratory area for the children. In the middle section of our outdoor area, that's currently under construction because we're going to make that into more of a role play area for the children. So again, linked to the children's interests. So if they're interested in fairies or superheroes or dinosaurs, then they can go and explore their small world play out in that area. We've renovated our little reading snug, so that's now got AstroTurf and colourful cushions, and it's a really lovely place for the children to go sit on a beanbag and share a book, or actually they've been enjoying doing a lot of mark making out there as well, which is fantastic. We have a purpose-built sandpit that accommodates a number of children, so they love getting in there. We're also planning on building a second sandpit next to the first one, so we can have dry sand in one, which obviously the children can be lifting and pouring, which is good for upper body strength. And the other Sandpit is the wet sand, so it's good for moulding and building up finger strength. We've recently added a stage area to the top section of our outdoor area. That's intended to do more sort of role play, and hopefully when we can get the costumes and things back out, they'll be able to dress up and go on the stage and perform songs, sing and have a little audience. So throughout the outdoor area as well, there's big chalkboards. We've got a music section. There's whiteboards everywhere for mark making. It's just a really great environment for all children to be engaged in. I think we're really lucky here at Brixington to have all that space. The mud kitchen is currently under development. It's having a bit of a revamp, so that's coming back after Christmas, which we're really excited about. In the classroom, we've got, we're getting a curiosity cube. So it's a big cube that we can put interesting objects in. So it's, again, developing that awe and wonder of oh, what's this? And developing language skills for the children. Yeah, so the indoor and outdoor environments are perfect for children here at Brixington. We are passionate about developing their inquisitive minds and ensuring that the learning environment promotes awe and wonder. These TAs in our unit as well are fantastic. They're not only extremely warm and caring and lovely to the children, but also really skillful in going into the children's play and getting the most out of their learning. So all the TAs are aware, and the adults, of the children's next steps to learning. So they know what the child's target is. They'll go into their play. They'll know that a certain child needs to develop their skills of adding one. So they might go into the sandpit when the child is building a lovely cake and then start practicing the skills of adding one like that. Or they might go into the role play area when the children are playing with some fairies and say, oh, we're going to be doing some, we're going to practice your segmenting. Let's make a magic wish or something and start segmenting some words with the children, making magic spells and things like that. As research has showed that children are much more likely to understand and retain the skill if it's linked to their own interests. So that's very much what we're passionate about here at Brixington. We share all the learning with you at home as well. We're using an online platform called Tapestry, which is new to Brixington as well. This is something that we think is really working well for our parents. It means that we can share the learning that's going on in class, but also you can see what the children's next steps are. So it's something that you could perhaps practice at home. It's also, we are also able to upload things that you're doing at home with your child into school, so we can celebrate, you know, if your child has started tying their shoelaces, for example, or able to do up their coat, then we can share those successes in school as well, which is really important. Brixington has a very high success rate with teaching phonics. The children learn phonics using a kinesthetic approach, so we put actions to our phonics, and that's been really successful here at Brixington. We always make sure that the direct teaching is fun and interactive and meaningful for the children, and I think from my class at the moment, they're really enjoying this new skill of being able to read and write, learning their phonics, and that's in the heart of everything that we do with it throughout the environment. I'm not just speaking to you as a teacher here at Brixington as well, I'm also a parent, so both of my children come to Brixington, and I can honestly say that they have had the best time. The teachers here are fantastic. They're just making so much progress and a lot of support, and I couldn't be happier with how they're doing. So yeah, I would definitely recommend you sending your child here to Brixington. Over to you, Mr. Dyer.
Thank you, Mrs. Locke. Okay, so how can you help your child prepare or be ready for September, for starting reception? And this is a question that we get asked quite a lot. If you've got any other questions, remember, before in the next 5 minutes or so, then you just need to type in tinyurl.com/askbrixington. I've got a few written down that have been sent in already, ready to look at the end. Okay, so how can you prepare? What could you be doing now? Well, talk to your child, and read with them. Sharing stories, listening to your child and helping them to find interesting things. There's no such thing as a silly question for children of 3 and 4 year olds. It is impossible to give them too much attention. Whenever I'm asked this question, what could I be doing now? And people want to say, is there any early writing I could be doing with my child? Should I be doing early numbers with the child? Should I be doing some maths with them at home? Is there any particular programs we should watch? Is it possible to get all the education they possibly need from episodes of Hey Dougie at this stage? almost. The most important thing is to listen to them and to be led by them. Your child will tell you what they are ready to learn. He or she will be asking you questions already, I'm sure, and attention is vital for helping them be ready for primary school. As I said, you can't give them too much of it. Sharing stories with them is an absolute golden ticket to opening their minds to school. Once they've got the idea that language can do all these wonderful things, then they'll just thrive in the environment of a primary school where they really focus on so many stories and words and writing and bringing those things to life. And talking with them. It sounds really silly and sounds really obvious, but children do love to talk. Communication and language is an absolute key skill for our earliest learners and something we work really hard on in our school to make sure they've got every possible opportunity to develop. All of the teachers who work with our children are brilliant at asking questions, just little ones that open up their minds to new ideas or to new experiences. So don't worry too much, I would say, don't worry too much about looking for formal opportunities or things to practice at home. Give them as much attention as you can, get talking with them and get reading with them. Some parents choose to prepare their children for school by sending them to a nursery or to an early years provider. And whether your child has been to a nursery or not, they will be more than ready to succeed in reception in September. Some of you may choose to keep your children at home all the time. Others may have to do a childminder occasionally, that kind of thing. And some of you will be choosing a nursery. Sometimes we notice that children who've been at a nursery or at an earlier setting make slightly earlier progress with things. And this is even more the case if they've been through our nursery and then go into our reception, because our nursery teachers are able to provide really specific information about their strengths or areas for development that can be picked up straight away in September. But I'm saying earlier progress, that doesn't mean better progress. Children will learn when they are ready. Sometimes nursery can help children be ready a little bit earlier, but not always. It's very much personal choice. Another thing that's helpful to get children ready for September is a little bit of independence. That will just mean that they feel a little bit more confident earlier. So especially things like toileting and getting dressed by themselves, it will mean that if they know they're able to get their coat off their peg, put it on themselves, do the zip up, out to play by themselves, that will give them a lovely bit of confidence as they move around the unit. So those are a couple of other things that it is helpful to work upon. And teachers will always be grateful if you've spent some time helping them with toileting before they start school too, as you can imagine. Okay, so those are a few things to help you prepare. I'd just like to end this evening by talking a little bit more specifically about our school, about Brixington. I've been the head of teaching and learning here for over 3 years now. The start of reception is a magical time and something that you'll always remember as parents. It's the start of a journey and you'll be amazed by the rapid pace in which they're suddenly able to do new things. And we hope that you'd consider Brixington for your child's learning journey. Our school is a happy and exciting place to learn, with teachers like Mrs. Locke providing buckets of passion and enthusiasm and dedication to get the best possible results for our children. We're a high-performing school. The children's outcomes throughout this country are measured at the end of Key Stage 1, Key Stage 2, and also at the end of the reception year in those early learning goals I was talking to you about. And in recent years, our outcomes for these things are right where they should be and among the best in town. We're driven by, we've got our key values of friendship, respect, honesty, endeavour, and sportsmanship. And these have been chosen and developed with the children over the last few years because we know that when these things are developed, our children go on to become successful and happy citizens. And that's the most important job we do. We develop those values in our children. We constantly look out for them. We praise children for showing them. It was my privilege last week to run some virtual endeavour assemblies where we rewarded a child from each class who has worked hard every day since September. People who come into school every day and without making a fuss, they just get on with things and they just make sure that they're doing learning to the best they possibly can. But developing these things in children also means offering things beyond the classroom as well. And we're very lucky here at Brixington. Lots of you will have seen our site. Apart from being enormous, it's got lots and lots of opportunities for children to be busy outdoors as well as indoors, as well as an enormous field. We've got a pond area, a forest school area, a farm area with outdoor classrooms. We're really fortunate with all the space we have. So choosing Brixington means choosing high results, exciting teaching, happy, ambitious pupils. So if you would like to know a bit more about it, just give the office a call, visit our website, and we can just arrange a meeting with me, and I can talk to you a little bit more and answer any specific questions you have about your own children. In terms of applying for primary schools, the deadline you have is January the 15th. So you can change your mind anytime between now and then. So it's not too late to choose Brixington. And even if you put another school as your first choice, you can still change your mind right up until the deadline. Okay, it's time to have a look at some questions that have come in. Thank you, glamorous assistant. Okay, first one. What if my child has allergies or dietary requirements? Any school is really well set up to cater for anything like that. All you've got to do is let them know before your child starts, and almost every school will have a medical form that you have to fill in on entry. And I'm yet to see any medical or dietary requirement that we wouldn't be able to cater for. So that's nothing you need to worry about, but I would recommend letting schools know as soon as possible. Okay, another question is, do reception children play with the older children very much? So at Brixington, at the moment, obviously children are staying within their own classes and with their own class bubbles for obvious reasons. However, in normal times, the older children would usually play quite often with the reception children, and we use them as role models. So we have a system of house captains here, for example, and sometimes they'll read stories and share stories with the children. What we've got in our school is that the youngest children in our school have their own space. Mrs. Locks talked to you a little bit about the outdoor area, for example, where they can play and where they learn. They've also got walls around the 3 classrooms in this part of the school, and it very much feels like a reception area. However, they can see just across the playground, just the other side of the fence, they can see the older children. You can see them being fascinated by a hockey lesson going on in the playground just outside their window, for example, and they can't believe that they'll be that big one day too. And then throughout the year, those children increasingly will come into reception to spend time with children doing specific things. So they become more and more of the school the older they get. Another question here is about music. So music's part of all schools' curriculums, and it's an important part of the early years curriculum too. There's an awful lot of singing. Singing is a great way to remember things, so that's a good thing to be doing between now and September as well. See how many nursery rhymes you can get them to remember. At our school, we have a music curriculum that goes throughout the school and is progressive in each year group. Recently, I've heard people playing the Glockenspiel along to some Bon Jovi, but it starts a little bit lower down with lots of singing and lots of learning about rhythm and tempo and beating things. And then there are extracurricular music activities too. So we've had a really successful choir in the past. We've also got a peripatetic teacher in school who you can sign your child up for. I think at the current count we've got saxophone being learned. We've also got piano being learned and a number of other instruments as well. So lots of schools offer those kinds of extracurricular things for music. And I could say all the same things about sports as well, and all the extracurricular sports opportunities there are. Okay, a couple more quick questions though. Do classes have just one teacher and teaching assistants, and is that the same in all year groups? Yes. So most classes will have one teacher or a couple of teachers working throughout the week. But in our school, in our early years classrooms where reception learn, there's also a number of teaching assistants who support the learning that happens in the class. Sometimes that will mean working one-to-one with a child. Sometimes it will mean butterflying around the environment and just coming down and dropping in one of those little questions or asking something and then watching the learning take off. Sometimes it will involve directly working with a small group of children on a specific thing. And then as you go up through the school and you go into year 1 and year 2 and up through the school, you'll see teachers and teaching assistants as well doing similar things, sometimes supporting specific children and sometimes working with larger groups. That's really common in all schools as well. Okay, and the final question is it a good idea to go to the nursery of the school you are going to go to beforehand to practice being in the right school? So I think that question is about, for example, if you're planning on going to Brixington in September, is it a good idea to move your child into Brixington's nursery beforehand? We would say yes. As I mentioned, if you've got some nursery experience, you might find it a little bit easier to settle into school quickly. And if you're choosing childcare, for your child at the moment with September in mind, then I would definitely recommend choosing the nursery of the school you're thinking of them going to, because it can only help for them to settle into the routines and to meet the staff and to see some of the children and to get into those, those structures and learn about the environment that they're going to be seeing in September anyway. So I would certainly recommend that as an idea. And if you're interested in joining Brixington's nursery, again, all you've got to do is give us a call in the office or have a look on our website, and we can see if there's space in the sessions that are available for you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mrs. Locke. Thank you, everybody, for watching at home. And thank you to those of you who joined us live, but also thank you to those who caught up with the recording afterwards. I hope we've been able to just answer a few questions about what to expect in the coming months. Lots more are bound to arrive between now and then. And I would say once you've settled on your school and made your decision, it can feel like a big decision you've got to make now, and then you wait a long time before actually they start. If you want to look around the school before your child starts, certainly here, if you'd like between now and September to find out a little bit more, or you think your child would particularly benefit from coming to see the school site or seeing some of the classes, then as coronavirus restrictions are lifted over the next few months and those things will all become possible, all you've got to do is keep in touch. So have a very good evening, everybody. I look forward to seeing many of you again soon. Goodbye now.